and interpret them based on principlism and based on what the law says. Please note those two aspects. There is autonomy, and they must be so treated as autonomous agents. In ethics, we make a distinction between a human being and a person. Now, all persons are human beings, but not all human beings are persons. Yes. One is agency. But by the way, the person is someone who has full autonomy operating as an individual. It must not be. Once it is diminished, it reduces his status to a general status of a non-person human being. An individual capable of deliberation about personal goals and of acting under the direction of such a deliberation. To respect an autonomous agent is, at least, to acknowledge that that person's right from obstructing their actions unless they are clearly detrimental to others. To show lack of respect for an autonomous agent is to repudiate that person's considered judgments, to deny an individual the freedom to act on those considered judgments, or to withhold information necessary to make a considered judgment when there is no compelling reason to do so. Now, the doctrines of informed consent and surrogate decision-making are based upon respect for autonomy. Now, beneficence is the second one. This principle asserts or promotes good for others, including our patients. If you look closely, therefore, you might recognize the possibility of conflict between respect for autonomy and beneficence. We are going to look at one case, and I hope we have the time, and it's an important landmark in law practice and medical legal practice in Nigeria. Now, what's non-maleficence? Basically, it means do no harm. All right? It is an obligation that is referable. One case. Some of you may have heard of this. Who someone has his photograph is South Korea. Now, he made landmark discoveries in the past. Unfortunately, he got into trouble when he made false claims. In fact, he fabricated data. Now, let's look at this case. In two hugely cited papers in Science 2004, this paper was very widely cited. And then in 2005, those two papers, one claimed to have derived stem cells from cloned human embryos. The South Korean stem cell researcher has been at the center of the largest investigation into scientific fraud in living memory throughout the world. Now, on 10th of January 2006, this was a few years after the publication, when somebody within his team blew the whistle and a few other things became shaky. He himself was struggling to withdraw some papers from publication. His university announced after a 4-week investigation that one's work on cloned human embryos were all fabricated. The revelation has destroyed the best evidence that stem cells can be extracted from a clone hatched to a specific patient. With one being discredited, both the field of therapeutic cloning and public trust in science have suffered a serious setback. Now, legal issues came out of that case. The prosecutor started investigation the day that the university report was released, found that it was genuine. In August 2005, the world's first cloned dog was announced, and it was done by a team headed by him. This was before the one he claimed about human beings was found to be false. Snoopy is the name of the Afghan hound, born in April 2005. It took nearly 2,000 eggs to make about 1,000 embryos, out of which only one was eventually healthy. Let's look at the photograph of Snoopy, maybe it will interest you. Snoopy is in the middle. Labrador was used as a surrogate mother to bring up Snoopy. The male dog, of course, could not have breastfed Snoopy. That's for our interest. Latest about Bond. He was a Libyan just a few months ago to execute a clinic and research lab project. It was cancelled because of the unrest. They have so far received 600,000 euros, that is $832,000, as retainer for the $133 million project. What is probably more important to Juan, as you might expect, is the chance to restore his honor in the scientific community. That shows you how serious it can be. Now, the medical and dental practitioner disciplinary tribunal versus Dr. John Emewulu Nicholas Okor. This Supreme Court judgment was given on the 2nd of March 2001. I don't know how I'm going to summarize this, but let me put it this way, simply. Mrs. Okor, all right, and her husband were both Jehovah's Witnesses. Mrs. Okor apparently had a bleeding episode in which she became severely anemic and was then transferred to another hospital. In that other hospital where Dr. Okor was the person in charge, Mrs. Okor made it clear, like she did in the previous one, that she would not want to be transfused, and made very, very definite statements about this. Will you please scroll down? I think I have to whom it may concern. The patient and her husband strongly refused. Okay, this was written by the doctor that referred her, and they refused transmission based on religion. Okay, she was then taken to that other hospital, and then her statement is as follows: I, Martha Okor, direct that no blood transfusions be given to me, even though physicians deem such vital to my life or health. I accept non-blood expanders such as dextran, saline, ring gas solution, and so on and so forth. Now, it accords my right with my right as a patient and my beliefs as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and then quotes the Bible. This is and has been my religious stand for 6 years. I direct that I be given no blood transfusions, accept any added risk this may bring. I release doctors, anesthesiologists, hospitals, and their personnel from responsibility for any untoward results caused by my refusal, despite their competent care. In the event that I lose consciousness, I authorize witness below to see that my decision is held. Signed, Martha Okor, witness, husband, and then one of the uncles. Now, recommendations and lessons here. Just go scroll through very quickly. All right? You must have training. Training is the key word. You must have knowledge. You must have training. We must understand what we're doing.
In some quarters, he is referred to as the master. You all agree with me that he's a man that's usually at many places at the same time.
Time for about 5 questions. Please, 5 questions. Raise up your hand. You ask the question, and then the lecturer will put down notes. At the end, he will respond to all the questions.
Dr. Adele, with absolute respect to that very rare presentation. First, I want to say that we talked about the issue of principalism, and I was wondering why the principle of paternalism, and even fidelity are not part of it, because those are core ethical principles that should guide us. Then, of course, I was wondering why you class informed consent and, of course, legacy under the principle of autonomy. I thought they were more of the under the principle of justice. Then, how will you place the case of Anquinia and, of course, the Okor case, because if counsel, for instance, when they took that decision, had the evidence, the opportunity of having the judgment in the case of Anquinia, I see no reason why, even as far back as 2001, they had this kind of faulty judgment. Because again, it is said that law takes precedence before ethics. when you have a conflict between law and ethics, of course, the law supersedes. And so if there was already a judgment, I don't know if they had the opportunity of that, but I thought that was indeed a very, very faulty judgment by counsel, and not going to have happened. So basically, sir, how do we place informed consent and surrogacy, which all the while we have always known fell under the principle of justice, ethical principle of justice, and of course the issue of paternalism. Thank you.
Confidentiality is an area that is very important to us. So please, my question is, how do we handle confidentiality as a relationship with our spouses?
Or patient.
Or a doctor, a woman, a lady comes and tells the husband that something bugging my mind. Is this decision right? This is. So what do we do about it?
Two elementary questions. But I've never really been able to have a satisfactory explanation for myself. That's why I'm throwing the question open. Who really is the owner of the patient in the hospital? In my private hospital, there's no doubt, I own the patient. Who is the owner of the patient on a ward in the UBTH, for instance? Who owns the patient? Please, I need an answer to that. Because with that answer, we will be able to address all these medical, legal issues properly. Thank you very much.
As we speak right now, like you rightly said, with respect to the informed consent, the way it's written now is actually the doctor. The doctor is being asked to give a consent. The new thinking now with respect to informed consent, and the Medical and Dental Council actually considering, is a situation wherein it is the patient now that will be begging the doctor to consent to do whatever it is, so that legally the patient no longer has that right, because he has actually said that the informed consent is right now, whether a patient has given an informed consent or not, where there are issues, he can take it to court and legally win the case. But I want to ask, the other proposal, how legal it is, Dr. Imobi?
To the initial presentation before the medical ethics by the legal practitioner, he did say that having explored the client's autonomy to give consent, that you would go on to quoting him, that you will now go on to advise. I really, that's not, it doesn't tally with the actual practice. Because the whole idea is to get the clients to be responsible for the decisions. So if at the end you are going to go on to advise and responding to informed consent are very different things. And I want to appeal to Dr. Adeleye to kindly throw a little light there. Because some of us in counseling who do such things, have to work with persons in trouble and all that. Use that principle a lot, or apply that science a lot, and it's important that physicians get very clear with this.
Analysis why I discussed under autonomy. Let's recognize this point that autonomy, as we said in the presentation, addresses a patient's freedom, liberty, and agency. That is, that the patient or the research participant, as the case may be, is considered as one who should be given the right to exercise that freedom of choice, decision-making, and make judgments as to his personal goals. And nothing should be done to impede that capacity, except, of course, where he lacks the competence to so do. In other words, there's an ab initio circumstance of that patient or research participant. It is not one influenced by you. To that extent, therefore, if you are paternalistic, or let's start with the first one, if you withhold information for a patient to give consent, you are repudiating the patient's autonomy. You are making it difficult for that patient to take a decision or make a choice with respect to his or our own personal goals or preferences in the clinical or research setting. That's the reason why, by standard practice, we classify the doctrine of informed consent under autonomy or respect for autonomy. If you look at Bishop and Childress, you'll see more discussions on this. Bishop and Childress were the people who actually formulated principlism at the end of the day, based on previously existing theories. And you'll appreciate that paternalism insults a patient's freedom, except, of course, where a patient takes a decision to bequeath to you, to hand over to you, such powers to exercise on his behalf, but not to set aside his own decision. The patient can reverse that at any time. What we now advocate is healthy communication. You provide information, and as a good doctor, you listen very well. And that's a good counselor. You listen well, and then provide information, clarification, before we now talk about signing any document to affirm that consent has been given. Anything different from that is insulting on the patient's autonomy and is paternalistic. The issue of confidentiality, let me make this clear, please. Confidentiality, is not the same as secrecy. They are two different things. If something is secret, you must never say it. If something is confidential, you may say it, but only to persons who must hear. But who decides on who must hear? It is the patient. What is important, however, using the example of the questioner, is this. When you share your personal challenges, stresses, and all that with your wife, do you give sufficient information as to be able to identify the patient in question? So if your answer is yes, you have breached confidentiality. What you can do out of your emotional desire to be comforted by your loving wife is to describe the circumstance without sufficient information. Definitely not the name. Definitely not such things as height or specifics or any description whatsoever that can provide a possible description and a possible identity of the person you're talking about, if you have to talk about a person. It says whether it's the doctor, then it says in your private hospital, you own the patient. I'm sorry to let you know that you don't own any patient. You don't own anybody. You probably own as much as the bed, but not the patient on top of the bed. And that really shows how paternalistic we can be as health professionals. Nurses say we own the patient, doctors, we own the patient, lab scientists, we own the patient, the director of administration, I own the hospital, head CMD, I own it. Why are we all hungry for ownership? If something does not bear your name, it's not for you. That's the biblical principle. Happy? So the patient is not for you. The patient came there based on trust that you have sufficient knowledge and skills to make him better. He did not come to surrender himself for ownership by anybody. Thank you very much.
Douglas Okor, MBBS, University of Benin, University. Member of the Royal College of Surgeons, UK, a very distinguished neurosurgeon. Someone who told me when he was my resident that he was going to be a neurosurgeon. Then I tried to discourage him. I must confess I tried to discourage him. And I looked at him, are you sure you want to be a neurosurgeon? He said yes. I said, do you know the number of years it will take you to become a neurosurgeon? He said it's not in the hobby. I said, you sure? He said, if it takes me 10 years, I want to be the best neurosurgeon Nigeria has produced. And I'm truly delighted that he's working towards that vision, to realize that vision. For 20 years and they have done nothing compared to what I've done. I want to tell you, what I've been telling my students, those of you who have gone through me not understanding, is that have a vision and let that vision be as tall as possible. And I think that they are the ones that are putting University of Benin on the map in the international scene. They are putting Nigeria on the map in the international scene. And they are providing good leadership, medical education and transformation that will take Nigeria to the 21st century that we come here to listen to the inaugural lecture of the man I know will become a professor very soon, Dr. Douglas Okor.
Nigeria. 150 million man strong. Great people, great nation. You will be this kind of statements. You'll be. I'm sure you would have heard of most of these things, and probably maybe you make them as well. I'll start with some of them, and I'm sure there are some people in the audience who have actually made some of these statements. We are a third world country. We don't expect this kind of development in Nigeria because we're a third world country. That's absolutely not it at all. That cannot be the fulcrum on which you settle. You must be able to project. You must be able to understand the capacity and the potential that we have to deliver something new. When you make statements like that we're a third world country, it's annoying because I think your foreign counterparts have sold this to you that you're a third world country and you've swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. No. We have the capacity to take our game to the highest level that can be. So such statements, that's one of the statements that you'll be familiar with. Somebody once told me, it's good to be passionate, but really changing things is about having the skill to change things. And I looked at the guy and I said, this guy doesn't understand what he's talking about. A great speaker once said that, man, without passion, nothing happens. You can develop the skill, but when you get to the obstacle and the mega challenge, your skill will fail you. It is your passion that will hold sway when you get to the real challenge and obstacles. And in Nigeria, I promise you, we have mega challenges. We have real challenges, I promise you. Most of the time, maybe I'm doing a walk around with my counterparts here, and then they show me something, and I say, is this the guy the way we are still doing it here? And they say, this one in Nigeria, now you can be that one. You cannot rest on mediocrity. You cannot rest on it. You must be able to project and say, man, we are going to get the best. We have the capacity to get the best. And then this is the one that really, really annoys me. You don't know Nigerians, they can never change. Nigerians are like this, they can never change. Please, the only constant thing in this world is change. The only constant thing in this world is change. People need to be inspired and to be engaged in the process. My preparation, 21st century healthcare for Nigeria. That's the title of this talk. Someone asked me, why my preparation? Well, my preparation, because I'm talking about your preparation. I'm personalizing it. So we're actually going to talk about you first of all. Let's talk about you. Let's start with you. Let's talk about you. Who are you, first of all? Who are you? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Who are you? You are a Nigerian. And I can tell you what Nigerians are all about. Nigerians are confident, fantastic people. Let me digress a little bit. Most people, they've seen the kind of work that the foundation that I represent have done. And I suspect very strongly that because of the Nigerian factor and the way we think, most people are quite suspicious and skeptical. They are thinking, this is abnormal. Someone cannot be really involved and be making changes like this. This guy must be getting something. This guy must be getting some extra, or maybe some extra financial reward or something. It's not normal for someone to, when we're able to make changes, you do things that are not conventional. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I believe in you. I solidly believe in you. Nigerians are capable people. Nigerians are absolutely fantastic people. In the UK, we have 9 Nigerians running postgraduate training, nine trainees, running postgraduate training in neurosurgery. I mean black people. 7 of them are Nigerians. I repeat that again, maybe you didn't understand me. You have 9 black people running postgraduate training in neurosurgery in the UK, and 7 of them are Nigerians. That is who you are. And that is what you must know yourself to be. as a Nigerian, you need to see Nigerians. Once you meet a Nigerian in JFK Airport, in London Heathrow Airport, you know a Nigerian. We are loud, we talk, we are confident people. We might get to the UK, America, and initially we might be struggling because we are trained here. But give us 3 months or 6 months stop. We'll get to the top of our game. That is who we are. I agree with Professor Dola Akwi when she was the Minister of Health, partially, when she was talking about the rebranding. Well, in a way, I agree with her partially. Like I said, we have a brand already. Sorry, the brand of Nigeria is confidence, is excellence, and not mediocrity. What we need to do is to redefine our brand. And that's what I'm talking about. What do you represent? What do you really represent? I represent a generation of people that understand leadership. I represent a generation of people that know they can make a change. I represent a generation of people that know that they don't know everything, that teamwork is the key. I represent a generation of people that are not ashamed to say, I need help. Please help me. I represent a generation of people who understand the importance of leadership and are passionate about building leaders. That is who I represent. My people, my brothers and sisters, what do you represent? What do you really represent? What defines you as a person? Is it your big chips? Your big house? Is that what defines you? You know, poverty is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Let me tell you what poverty has done to us in Nigeria. Poverty, in the realm of rationalization, poverty has kept us as infants. We all know children. My son is about 2 and a half, going on 3 years. For children, it is me. Give me my biscuits. Give me my Coke. Give me me. What defines me is what I can give, not what I can get. That's what defines me. What defines me is what I have to give to you. And I have one principle. If I meet you and I come in contact with you, you must live with something positive. You must. That's what defines me. I'm defined by what I can give and what I have to give. And if you understand that it's what you have to give that defines you, then you build your capacity to give more. And that is what we're talking about, my people. What principles govern your life? What principles govern you? What's your value system? What do you place value on? The fantastic lecture Dr. Akibe, Mr. Akibe gave earlier on, she was talking about all those imaging and talking about that we don't have them. Well, I just went downstairs and the Vanguard, Guardian and Observer people, they were interviewing me and they asked me a critical question. All these things we were talking about, where will we get the funds for them? And I just laughed. I said, do you think that Nigeria is a poor country? Nigeria is not a poor country by any standard. What you represent, what defines you, who you are, all comes together to give you your value system and what your priorities are. Go to Abuja, you see all kinds of cars. The first car that is any 2011 model, you have the car there. But look at the ambulance, it's still a motor vehicle, isn't it? What are your priorities? These are important questions. They are really, really important questions. Because it's okay, especially for the younger generation, to be complaining. They complain about the others, your seniors. But what will you deliver when it's your time? And that's what we're talking about. This is just a picture of a brain lab machine. We use it for neural navigation for patients to try and target brain tumors or spinal tumors. So let's start talking about you first of all. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about the factors that can hamper the achievement of this vision, this great vision we're talking about, that we're projecting like 15, 20 years, that will get there. Lack of vision. Most of the time in the UK, most of our young girls, they come to do a master's program. They come to do master's program, and then most of them they sit down with me and they ask me, oh, what do I do? Oh, I'm interested, what do I do? And I ask them, what's your vision? And then they get very confused. Vision? Which one is on our pastor will work with? What's your vision? What can you stand and see that other people cannot see? Absolutely important. Lack of understanding of purpose and destiny. We are all created for a particular reason. We are all created for a particular reason. Unfortunately, somehow, for some particular reason, for circumstances, people do not fulfill their purpose and destiny. What is your purpose? Well, the fundamental purpose of you being on this earth is for you to be a problem solver. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me here that we have problems in Nigeria. You have real-time problems. But you see, those problems, I usually describe them as a thick rock. Those challenges that we have in Nigeria, a thick rock. Just lift the rock up, and under that you see potential. Nigeria is waiting for people to make things happen. Who are the people that are going to make these things happen? We are waiting for those people. Lack of knowledge of self. I've asked that question before. Who are you? What do you represent? Do you know who you are? Have you conquered yourself? Have you sat down and asked yourself, who am I? I'll tell you a little bit. When I was in my 4th, 5th year medical school, I told my colleagues, I said I was going to train as a neurosurgeon, and I'm not in Nigeria, I'm going to train in the best of the best of the best. And they looked at me, you never had any distinction. You were always going to practice when you were in school. I don't think you'll be neurosurgeon. They laughed at me. My dear wife, Loretta, was the first person I told I was going to be neurosurgeon. And she said, why not? Go ahead. You have what it takes. I love you. Of God. If God is a creator, then you are a creator. I remember when I was about leaving, I was working in the HR unit in UTH here. And my mother came to me one day, my mother said, my son, why are you leaving now? You have a job in UTH here. Why are you leaving? And you know what I told her? I said, sit and get behind me. My mom is here, she can answer. I'm going to make real-time challenges, but I said, but mommy, don't worry. I know my calling. I know who I am. Who are you, my people? Who are you, my dear people? What do you represent? I need to reiterate, be it with bad governance, be it with power, anything you want to talk about. And what has happened over time, people have lost belief. They don't believe anymore. And this one, not just politicians, they just they talk, believe it again. If you stop believing, start believing again. Because it starts from there. It starts from there. Start believing again. For your reason for action. Unfortunately, this might sound, I'm not trying to bring or to spite anybody, but when you enter medical school, who doesn't understand what it's supposed to do in this constituency? Who is inspiring you? Because the young people of today, they want quick money. They don't understand the concept of delayed gratification. There's a time for everything. A time and season for everything. You go in America, Australia, the Western world. I always tell them about the bigger picture. When there's a problem, there are 3 types of people. The first person says, just looks and walks past. The second person comments and makes comment, well, this, or maybe criticizes. And the third person does something about it. Who are you? Where do you fall into these 3 types of people? You can see that guy in the boxing ring. Let me tell you what he represents. It's just what I was talking about a few moments ago. You are getting ready for a fight, for a boxing match, and then they are announcing your name. Now this is John, 360 kilograms, or whatever, 2 wins, 3 fights, 1 million losses. And then there's someone at the other end, you're the guy you're going to fight with. And then in your mind you're thinking, oh boy, this one I'm going to fight this guy, so I'm finished, I'm just fooling myself. I know that this guy is going to beat me hands down. Now tell me, in any way at all, how can you ever win that fight? Because you're defeated already before you can start the fight. It doesn't bring the concept and you say, no, me, I'm not fit to, I'm not sure, I never reached that level. of the major problems we have is working as a team. Our ego. It's a cultural thing. Our ego. Who be pharmacist to tell me which drug I go prescribe? Yeah, ordinary pharmacist. Ordinary nurse, they challenge me. The multidisciplinary approach to healthcare, at any time, team will give you the best outcome. Great. Oh no, I can do it on my own. No, those people, I can do it on my own. Poor communication between groups. We have issues with communication in this country. We really do. We really do have issues with communication in this country. But I promise we will step up. We will step up. Lack of the appreciation of the importance of collaboration. You can see what we are doing now. This is enemy and my foundation. Please listen, it is not all about me. It's not about me. Don't make that mistake at all. It's not about my foundation, about me. It's about you. It's about us. Some people say, man, you the crazy, so you think you can change Nigeria? It's not about me, please. It's about us. Collaboration in the 21st century is the key. We are talking about partnerships, transatlantic partnerships. How many of your departments are affiliated to departments in the UK or in Canada? These are doable. They are very doable. You just have to elevate real-time ultrasound and also not real-time MRI imaging, and it's also for neural navigation so we can get to where the tumor is, either in the brain or the spine. Now, my preparation, this is what we're talking about, isn't it?